For more insight on the terror attack in Sweden and also what's going on in the Middle East specifically as it relates to Syria, Walid Phares, Fox News national security and foreign affairs expert down here in West Palm Beach with us. Walid, always good.
Thank you.
To see you. What is Bashar Assad thinking this morning as he wakes up?
Well, he realizes he got a very strong message. The strike was a message mainly to his regime not to repeat, but also it was a message to his allies.
It was a strong message, but it doesn't seem as though it was even anything close to a decapitating blow. I mean, some analysts are saying pinprick, for lack of a better term.
The goal of the strike was not to topple the regime, it's clear. There is another plan, just in case he moves forward with the use of these weapons, that will be the destruction of the Syrian Air Force. And a more extended plan about his old regime if the Russians continue to protect him.
You brought in the Russian issue, and as we heard from Lucas and from Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon, not only the U.S. military go to great pains not to kill any Russians who are at that air base, but also they had to deal with only being able to use Tomahawk cruise missiles because of the Russian air defenses that are inside Syria. It seems as though the options available to President Trump now in 2017 are vastly different than what was available to President Obama in 2013.
That's right. Well, first, at the time of the Obama threat of the Red Line, the Russian presence was not that extended, not even the Iranian Hezbollah presence. Now everybody is there. So if you want to make a decision to take on the entire regime, we'll definitely be clashing with the Russians on the ground. But the Russians understand that we are determined, President Trump is determined to make sure that these weapons are not used, and there will be political negotiations later.
All right, so you brought up the three key players as it relates to the Syrian side, the Russians, the Iranians, the Syrians, and you may add into that group perhaps the North Koreans in a different way. But when Assad and the Ayatollah and Putin all get on their conference call and start talking about this, don't they kind of go, well, this is sort of what the Americans always do?
There is a little difference. The Russians' interest, geopolitical interest, is Western Syria, the coast, their base. They're not going to kill themselves for a battle for the regime in eastern Syria. The Iranians have a different interest. They want this highway between Iran and Iraq and Syria and to Hezbollah. They will be the ones to fight us. They will be the ones to mobilize Hezbollah against us if we are determined in weakening the regime. So there is a difference between the Russian position and the Iranian position.
Either way, though, they're both looking to the United States in terms of how much strength we've shown. Was this enough, in your opinion?
For that purpose of the message, of course it was. My concern is what comes after.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about the tactics here that were used. Do you attack airfields? Do you blow up the runways? Do you only blow up perhaps the jets themselves? Do you hit weapons storage facilities? That's the tactics. What's the strategy?
The strategy should be to seize as much land from ISIS to create a free Syria in eastern part of the country. Then the balance of power will change at that point in time.
All right. Going forward, Assad stays, Assad goes, or should we stop worrying about that?
Assad should not go back to eastern Syria. The fate of Assad will be decided not just by the Syrians, but by his own Alawi community, and that's far down the line now.
So Assad's future is far down the line. What are the rest of our allies thinking? Was this enough to sort of assuage the fears of the Saudis, the Jordanians, the Israelis, who felt so abandoned by President Obama?
Listen to their statements. They have changed completely their attitude.
Statements are one thing. Is their attitude really changed?
It depends on us. We need to lead. They don't need to lead. So we are now showing them that we are leading. There will be more meetings. There were more meetings in Washington, D.C. I think that has to do with it. And then I think leadership is back.
All right. Well, we'll see. Last question. We know that you've advised the Trump administration in the past, not currently part of the government. Was this something they were talking about, though, during the campaign, or was this a 180-degree turn once President Trump saw those pictures of the children who had been gassed?
During the campaign, these were principles. I don't remember myself going into the details of issues. Transition and administration is a different story, but the principles were maintained, basically.
And we want to get now to sort of the European connection here. And Syria is the home of ISIS. This is where this all began. And we saw this attack inside Sweden where somebody ran a truck into a department store, then went out on the run, now been arrested, as we reported. Where does this go from here? Is the idea of taking out ISIS inside Syria enough?
They're all for it. I speak with French, British, everybody in the European Union. They want us to lead the campaign to liberate eastern Syria, terminate ISIS, and then we'll focus on the political problem of Syria.
All right. Walid here to break it all down for us. Enjoy the South Florida sunshine.